Yo, what's good? It's your boy Mixtape Moth, and today I'm gonna hit y'all with a review of the new Lloyd Banks album entitled "The Course of the Inevitable." Let's get to it. Alright, so Lloyd Banks is a seasoned lyricist coming out of Southside Jamaica, Queens. He has been rapping since the early 2000s as a member of G Unit, and we all know the success and impact that G Unit had on the hip hop landscape during the 2000s. So, this brand new project, Course of the Inevitable, is Lloyd Banks' first studio album in about 11 years, as his last album, The Hunger for More 2, dropped back in 2010. However, following that 2010 album, Banks went the independent route, releasing album quality mixtape series like The Cold Corner, Halloween Havoc, and Failure's No Option, all of which had received widespread praise during the 2010s. Nonetheless, Lloyd Banks had been quiet on the musical front since his 2016 project Halloween Havoc 3. He had teased fans with features here and there, but there was no album or mixtape. Given Banks' absence, there was a high level of anticipation for what this new album would sound like after all this time. So getting right into this project, Course of the Inevitable, it contains 18 tracks and lasts approximately an hour and 8 minutes. It's a long one to digest, but fortunately Banks keeps things pretty interesting for the most part. When you look at the cover art, you see Banks' son, which hints that there might be some level of introspection or grown man content on this album. In terms of the features, Banks enlists some highly revered MCs like Styles P, Freddie Gibbs, Benny the Butcher, Ransom, and Rock Marciano. Also, there is a verse from Vado, who I haven't heard from in a while, as well as a hook from Cy Ari the Kid. As far as the production goes, Banks doesn't have many big names attached. As expected, some of them include Chase and Chase, Dual Output, Encore, Cartoon Beats, The Germ, Mr. Authentic, and others. Now, production-wise, there is a gloomy and overcast tone to a lot of these beats, and that's something that's pretty consistent with every Banks project since the 2010s. So he is sticking to this same script sonically that he has for years. But with that being said, let me go ahead and hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. The opener, Propane, is a hard hitting first track. It has a knocking piano boom bap beat from Encore. Banks is talking his talk in full braggadocio mode. He raps, "I hate when they compare me to rappers, never been even, son. Hammer to a hand grenade, cannon to a BB gun." Also, "Player haters make my temperature flex, 20 years of pushing this pen, an instrumental threat." There's also some scratching at the end, which is dope, and I just feel this is a strong way to set the album off. Track 2, Sideways, has a spooky piano-inflicted drum beat. It's a little Griselda-esque. Banks boasts, "My spot isn't rented. Your favorite rappers don't race to top 10. Not only do dudes go clone me, my alter ego got twins." In addition to these boastful bars, Banks urges youngsters or up-and-coming rappers to stay off the streets if they aren't street dudes. That's why they made Sidewalks, so you can stay off the streets if you're not about that life. Track 3 is Empathy, featuring Gangsta Gibbs. The two spit some pretty menacing bars over this ominous beat. While Banks delivers two strong verses, it is Freddie Gibbs who stands out with his brutal and disrespectful raps. He states, "Dudes be taking deals, that's the only way you get out the feds, castrated, dick in his fucking mouth when they found him dead." Altogether, I really dug hearing these two together, and I love the gritty production. Right after is Early Exit, featuring Rock Marciano. It has a sparse and murky instrumental combined with a soul sample, and it's really one of the first captivating beats, in my opinion. We get dope verses from Banks, who glides effortlessly over this production. Rock Marcy kills it as well, although his vocals do sound oddly mixed. He raps, "I resemble the image of God. The pen is on tier with Rakim Allah's. I admit I started this renaissance. Got all these artists on the same shit that I'm on. I should talk at a seminar." And this is 100% accurate, as Rock Marciano can be seen as the principal influencer for a lot of today's underground rap sound. He is, without a doubt, the father to a lot of styles in the contemporary underground scene, so we gotta give the man his flowers. What follows is Formaldehyde, featuring Benny the Butcher. The production is very fitting for this Griselda feature. It's spooky boom rap with mad scientist vibes. Benny comes through with a solid verse. Some lines that stuck out were strapped to the teeth, a fact that trappers tap in with me. I spent 2019 putting rappers back on their feet. I feel that 2019 line was in reference to Griselda inspiring a lot of veteran rappers that it was cool to come outside and rap again. Track 6 is Death by Design. The production is dark, gritty with an eerie synthesizer. On here, Banks reminds cats why he's so nice at this rap shit. You thought my first was a fluke? I couldn't believe y'all. Every nightmare I woke up and bought me a dream car. Masculine when I'm tapping in. Keep that gossip between y'all. Next is Food featuring Styles P. Now this one has a slightly more modern production feel with the rattling hi-hats, but it is the strings that's the most prominent part to the song. This is a banger, plain and simple. I feel Lloyd Banks sums up his whole aesthetic in just one line. 90% of my songs gloomy, I'm bar heavy. I mean, I can't think of a better way to describe his whole steez. Styles P comes through with a grimy verse, which doesn't disappoint. He's talking about old school drug dealers rocking velour. Then on Crown, Banks brings the tempo down a little bit, rapping over this chill and meditative beat. The production is fitting for the more mature advice and game that he's dropping, like, make it without leaving your soul. Awareness is key to control. You fall, get up, breathe, reload. Word to the young, wild, and reckless. Hope you live to be old. Banks is rapping from the perspective of this seasoned, streetwise philosopher. Track 10 is Falsified featuring Ransom. It has some dark and chilly nighttime production. This one focuses on the people who change up and tell stories that are fabricated. Banks and Ransom are here to separate the real from the fake. Ransom, as expected, drops a really fire verse. See my pen and pad as a force of nature. I made my way from extorting neighbors to porcelain vases. I taught your favorites and scorched your playlist. But Banks does his thing as well, giving us 2 verses. This is something he does throughout the whole album when he has a guest, but when he's solo, he gives us 3. On Break Me Down, we get a glimmer of the old Banks, especially by the way he delivers his hook in the catchy and sing-songy way found on those old G-Unit records. But this is not a radio-friendly track, as the beat is mysterious and the lyrics are about pain and trauma, although there is a message of perseverance to be found. What follows is the sentimental record Commitment. Now, I suppose this one is geared more for the ladies, but it's not blatantly commercial. He's speaking on the ups and downs of being someone with trust issues in a relationship. You know, one minute things are calm, then the next, a little rocky. The subsequent track is Pain, Pressure, Paranoia. This has an atmospheric or calming after the storm type of instrumental. It's introspective Banks as he raps about how his early experiences with pain and trauma have molded him into the strong man that he is today. He also acknowledges that paranoia is a part of him, right or wrong, and that's based on how he came up, as he wisely states. Get a permanent sleep. If you're too comfortable snoozing, 9 out of 10 is someone that know your movements. On Stranger Things, Banks lets us in on his feelings regarding his past friendship with 50. He raps, your favorites nowhere near me when I'm dedicated, always humble, usually disciplined, and never hated. Call me quiet, call me lazy, talent never faded. It's frustrating when your grind ain't appreciated. So this was Banks's response to 50 Cent's comments that Banks was lazy and didn't work hard enough to be successful. This is one of the standout tracks in my opinion, as I really dug the dreamlike production and how Banks opened up about this issue. What comes next is Drop 5. It has a smooth but rugged sound. The elegant strings contrast well with the crunchy drums and gritty bars. Track 15 is Panic. Now it's the one lone commercial sounding track, and I say this due to the auto-tune layered hook from Sayari the Kid. While the lyrics were on point, I do consider this to be my least favorite track, as I particularly don't care for the hook and I feel the beat sounded very similar to 2 other songs. The following record, Smoke and Mirrors, has an atmospheric and ethereal sound. This tranquil beat complements his lyrical introspection. Banks talks about a number of things ranging from trauma, betrayal, being a dad, to even offering up life coach-like advice. But the premise here is to work hard and stay down, as things are not always what they appear to be. You know, in the rap game, in the streets, a lot of stuff is smoke Smoke and Mirrors. The second to last track is Dishonorable Discharge featuring Vado. This has a cinematic and heavenly sounding backdrop. It centers on the lack of morals, values, and honor in the game. Banks and Vado point out that people will likely stab you in the back for any kind of clout, notoriety, or attention. That's why you gotta stay alert and keep your head on a swivel so you won't fall prey to this level of betrayal. I feel this was a dope record as I really dug the production and I liked Vado's inclusion on the track. Then the album wraps up with Cotty. We get a signature Lloyd Banks sounding instrumental. He's giving out some thoughtful advice in game. I think there's also a jab at 50 if I'm not mistaken. Overall, I give this project a rating of a strong 3.5 to 4 mics. I have the lyrics as a strong 4, whereas I consider the production to be like a 3.5. So that balances out to around a 4 for me. Clearly, the main strength to this album is Banks's pen game. I mean, this is a very bar heavy album. Like every song is lyrically dense and just jam-packed with bars. And that's the thing about Banks's lyrical style. It's not the easiest to digest as he speaks in parables at times and delivers his bars in such a fast way that you have to pay careful attention or you might miss some of them. The beats, like I said earlier, are pretty solid and consistent throughout. I feel they work for the most part, but I will say there were a few that sounded similar stylistically, so I could have used a little more variety instrumentally. I get that part of the Banks aesthetic is to work with lesser known producers who give him these gloomy soundscapes, and that's cool and all, and I respect it, but I wouldn't have minded if he deviated from that formula slightly and maybe worked with some more established producers. Now, another thing is the length. In my opinion, a perfect runtime for an album is approximately 40 minutes, and this was well over that in an hour and 8 minutes. I'm not saying there are any weak tracks, there are just a lot of records to sift through. Still, I'd say there isn't much of what I would describe as filler, just some hooks and a couple of beats that sounded similar as the album progresses. That being said, I feel this is a strong return for Banks. At the end of the day, it is clear that he hasn't lost a step in terms of his bars, flow, and delivery. And I feel that fans couldn't have asked for a better return in 2021. My favorite tracks include Empathy, Early Exit, Food, Falsified, Stranger Things, Smoke and Mirrors, Dishonorable Discharge, and Cotty. Let me know what you thought about this album in the comment section below. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and please subscribe. As always, it's peace and blessings. Lloyd Banks, Course of the Inevitable, 1.